All right, let's dive into a legal idea that completely changed how an entire nation looks at its natural treasures. And believe it or not, it all kicked off because of one powerful court case in India that tried to answer a single, surprisingly tricky question.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. Who actually owns a river? Or a forest? Or the air we're all breathing right now? Is it the government? Some big corporation? Or, and here's the big idea, is it possible that it belongs to no one? Or maybe, just maybe, it belongs to everyone? This is the exact question at the heart of our story today.
And look, this wasn't just some philosophical debate. Back in 1996, a real-world fight landed right in the lap of India's Supreme Court, and they had to come up with a real answer. An answer that would end up reshaping the future of the country's environment. So what was this big conflict all about? Well, it was a classic showdown, really. You had a powerful private business on one side and a vital public river on the other. So let's get into the specifics of the case that started it all. The case is MC Mehta versus Kamal Nath. And at its core, you had a pretty blatant example of a public resource being exploited. See, a company had built a motel right on the banks of the River Bees. But they didn't stop there. They brought in bulldozers, earth movers, and started dredging the riverbed and literally changing the flow of the river, all to protect their private motel from floods. The court had to step in and ask, wait a minute, can you even do that? To answer that question, the court had to reach way back in legal history and pull out this powerful, almost ancient idea. This idea would become the hero of our story. They formally brought a concept into Indian law called the Public Trust Doctrine. So what in the world is the Public Trust Doctrine? Well, put simply, it's the idea that some things, the really important stuff, rivers, forests, the air, are just too precious to be privately owned. They're held in a special kind of trust for everyone. And the government? Their job is to be the guardian, the protector of that trust for all of us. The court used this really great analogy to make it all make sense. Think of the government as a trustee, right? A guardian. Our natural resources, that's the inheritance they're supposed to be looking after. And who are the beneficiaries of that inheritance? Well, that's you, me, all of us, the public. And a good trustee doesn't just sell off the family jewels for a quick private profit. So, armed with this powerful idea, the court was ready to make its decision. And you have to understand, this wasn't just about one motel on one river anymore. This ruling was going to set a huge precedent for how India would protect its environment for generations to come. And the Supreme Court's verdict was absolutely unmistakable. They said, and this is the key part, that natural resources are held in trust by the government for public use. They cannot be exploited for private gain. Just a clear, direct, and incredibly powerful statement. Honestly, this was a revolutionary moment. Before this case, the public trust doctrine was sort of just a concept. But this ruling, it made it a formal, legally binding part of Indian law. The court didn't just settle a dispute, it actually forged a brand new legal shield for the entire environment. Okay, so that was back in 1996. Why are we still talking about it today? Well, because the legacy of this single case, its ripple effects, are still shaping how natural resources are protected all across India. It's a really big deal. The impact was just immense. The public trust doctrine became a cornerstone of environmental law. It gave a solid legal tool to protect those shared resources we talked about. But maybe the most important thing is that it empowered regular citizens. It gave them a way to hold the government accountable, to say, hey, you're the trustee and you have to protect our inheritance. It totally shifted the balance, making sure public benefit comes before private profit. Which brings us right back to where we started. Who owns a river? Well, thanks to the MC Mehta versus Kamal Nath case, the answer in Indian law is crystal clear. We all do. It belongs to the public, held in trust for all of us and for every generation that comes after us. And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question. The law is there, the principle is clear, but is that sacred trust still being upheld today? Is the guardian still protecting our inheritance? That's not a historical question. It's a question for right now, and it's one that every single one of us has a stake in answering.